It's an announcement that has quickly traveled around the world as Africa now seeks a leadership role in trying to find a path towards peace in Ukraine.
My discussions with the two leaders demonstrated that they are both ready to receive African leaders and to have a discussion on how this conflict can be brought to an end. Whether that will succeed or not is going to depend on the discussions that will be held.
The UN welcoming the initiative, but within the prescripts of international law.
The Secretary General did receive a phone call from President Ramaphosa late yesterday afternoon while he was in Jamaica. I think, as we've said before, we are in favor of any initiative that could lead us to a peace in line with the Charter, in line with international law, and in line with General Assembly resolutions.
This is not the first time non-Western states have taken an interest in peacemaking in Ukraine. First was an initiative by Mexico last September, which proposed a mediation committee that included the Prime Minister of India, Pope Francis, and the UN Secretary General. This was followed by a 12-point position paper presented by China in February, which received mixed reactions, and a proposal by Brazil in April to establish a contact group of countries not involved in the war to broker peace, none of which has received a formal endorsement from the United Nations, and none delivering any tangible shift in the posture on the ground. The African Union chairman voicing support for the Ramaphosa initiative.
The difficulty that we have in convincing the two presidents of Ukraine and Russia to have a dialogue in order to end up this conflict is important. So we have a lot to do. Europeans are saying that we are better placed to come up with a solution.
But there are immediate pitfalls that have been flagged by policy think tank the International Crisis Group.
The US and the Europeans are going to view this proposal with some skepticism. There is concern in Washington and European capitals that South Africa is increasingly leaning towards Russia. And the first task for the African Mediation Group will be to convince Kiev and Kiev's allies that this is a good faith initiative that could actually lead to a deal that would satisfy the Ukrainians. I think first and foremost, it's necessary to convince both sides that this group of African statesmen will actually take everyone's interests into account. And I think that the Ukrainians are very concerned that there will be a push for a ceasefire, and that even if Russia did pause its hostilities, it would simply use that as an opportunity to firm up its control over the parts of Ukraine that it has seized. So it's important that the African mediators come saying that, that they're not just going to freeze Russia's gains in place, because if that is what the Ukrainians suspect, then they are not going to take this initiative very seriously.
While Ukraine's president gave some indication of his thinking after speaking with Ramaphosa at the weekend.
I spoke with the president of the Republic of South Africa. We talked about the peace formula, about justice, about the fact that our world must be united by the rules of international law. Anyone who helps the aggressor with weapons will be an accomplice with all the consequences. I called on Mr. President to join together with other countries of the world, all continents, including Africa, for joint work to implement our peace formula.
A Kremlin readout of President Putin's call with Ramaphosa indicated support for the African initiative, adding that Russia had never refused to work on a diplomatic track. Shervin Bricepies, SABC News, New York.